And hello, everybody. How are you? Hi. You're allowed to unmute yourselves. I don't know why you never seem to get that note.
What's up?
What up, y'all? Dilly, I miss all of you. Well, except Bo. I don't miss Bo. I see him plenty. Everybody else, I miss so much. Well, welcome. Hello, Emily.
I'm talking to myself. I'm on mute. Hi.
Hi. How are you, beautiful?
I'm good. How are you?
I am so glad to see you. You always look amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're pretty in pink, and I'm purple. I'm a queen in purple.
This is actually burgundy, but I'm
I've got a funny browser.
Representing my football team, but you're in the right color area.
Thank you. It's the jewel tones. Everyone looks good in jewel tones. At least attractive people look good in jewel tones. And then there's Nelson. So then, so tell us. Oh, look what I'm wearing here. Ready, Emily?
What?
Ready? Ba 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 da 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 da. Yeah.
Awesome. So I'm assuming mine is in the mail.
Yeah, it's actually right here. You don't, girl. I know what I'm doing. I got this pop on. So I'm gonna hit this my button. So we're gonna go ahead and get started with our stock market update today. Let me tell you guys, it has been a crazy week. 3 o'clock just kind of snuck up on us today. I have not stopped since like June. So it's been a very long day. But I know that we have a lot going on. I'm going to fill everybody in with what we have coming up here, but we are going to be having a conversation today about seed capital. No, I'm not talking about that initial investment you put into your business in order to grow something and hope that you don't regret it and crawl home to mommy. We are actually talking about investing in the commodity of seeds. Now, Emily, dear, have you ever considered that?
No, I have not.
No, you've not. I mean, I think for most of us, the extent we've ever done is we've bought bulk sunflower seeds at the grocery store from time to time, or we boiled peanuts. Wait, that's nuts. Are those the same thing? Not the point, those are legumes. But we are going to be talking about food storage and seeds and why there's an actual market for seed investing. Did you know that, Emily? I mean, we knew it, but we didn't know it.
Didn't know it, yeah. You know, but you don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I've kind of this point in my career, I'm like, there's a lot I don't know. There's probably a market for it. I just don't know how to get into it or even know what to search. So, right, Stephanie? So, so Emily, tell us what is going on this week in the market?
Well, we picked up right where we left off last week. Last week when we did our update, we were looking at, that zone of support and resistance. And those of you guys that have been joining the stock market challenge that we do on Mondays and Wednesdays are starting to kind of see and understand what I'm talking about when I talk about support and resistance. So we've had this battle. What was that? Okay, I thought I had to make sense.
That was just feedback.
Okay, so we've been in this battle area where we're trying to see if the Bulls or the Bears are going to win, and we've been fighting this line. And today in the S&P, at some point we did break below that support level that we've all been looking at. And let me see if I can do a quick screen share. Can you make me give me sharing?
No.
Privileges?
No, you don't. No, sorry.
What?
There we go. So the line in the sand that we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks, and let me get down to a daily, is been this line right here between 3,400 and 3,300. And if I add what we call moving averages on here, you will be able to see what I'm talking about. So we have these moving averages here where we've been trying to just battle and see if we're going to break it. And you can see here, this is the 50-day moving average. And we've been holding this line where today you see we kind of, we're selling off of that. Now we did bounce off, and that significant hold number right here at 3,300 is a previous resistance level. So if you go back and look at where we had our all-time highs back here, and then down here, this is where we can start to see that significant hold number coming into play. So it's still in there. The most important thing will be to see where we close and see what happens. But at this point in where we are, you know, you have to, you know, consider being slightly just cautious as to what's happening with the market. If you have some trades on, maybe, you know, time to, you know, take some profit, tighten up on you know, on your stop losses, but really still just kind of waiting to see who's going to win out this battle. The bears certainly are winning it today because they did drag it below those moving averages, but market's still open for another 53 minutes, so we'll see where we close. But that's just kind of where we've been. Really nothing much happening, but it is really, really significant as to where we end up, because if we do break down, and that's not what we want, there's really no, you know, it's clear air, right? There's no, the next support level you're looking is at this moving average right here at 3,100. So really just something to be cautious of. Obviously, we want the market to continue to go up, and we'll see what happens next week. But with, you know, everything else that's just going on with the election and all the other things that are happening, you know, I think we're going to continue to see some kind of volatility through the election. I don't know for sure, but, you know, something to just watch out for, especially for those long-term accounts that you've, you know, been making money on right now. May not be a bad time to start looking into getting some insurance or hedging, or even just kind of like, you know, cooling off on entering any new trades to the upside until you get confirmation that the market is going to continue to go up on the upside. Economic wise, the Fed did come out this week and say that they will not be raising interest rates until 2023. The last Fed meeting, I think they had said 2021, 2022 timeframe, but they've just come out and said, look, no more interest rates until 2023. And we talked about this a little bit on Wednesday, so I don't want to keep repeating myself, but you know, what does that mean for the individual, right? And, you know, it was an issue before even we had the pandemic, where we talked about, you know, savers are losers, not in terms of, you know, like they're losers, but like you don't make any money when you have money in savings, especially when you're not getting any interest. And now that we're, you know, almost at zero, you're not getting any interest now. So it forces you to get into asset classes like the stock market, like real estate, like opening up a business. You have to go and find other areas to grow. Or seeds.
Well, growing seeds. This is how you feel like a shameless plug, honey. It keeps people engaged. It's called a tag. Great.
Yeah, but we are being forced to find other areas to put our money so it can grow, because you're just not going to see it in savings. You're not going to see it in money market. You know, you're not going to see it in those areas where our parents used to get it from, right? So we are being forced to go into other areas. Now, on the flip side, when it comes to borrowing, it's cheaper to borrow money. So if you are looking to leverage and start a business, or leverage to do other things, borrowing money now is going to be obviously a lot more lucrative than when the interest rates were higher. So there are the pros and the cons when it comes to it. But, you know, if you're looking to borrow, now is a good time to get into it. But at the same time, those requirements are more stricter than they were before because of the pandemic, right? So, you know, just something to be aware of, depending on which side you're looking at. You know, borrowing is definitely going to be cheaper, but you're not going to be able to make a lot more money either, unless you get into other asset classes that are going to have better returns, at least cover inflation.
That's very, very well said. I love how you speak. You just always speak so well, not just with your investment talk. You make investing sound almost like doable, but it's also, it's just so melodious. It's just pleasant. It's not like hearing some old white guy talk about investments and hedge funds. And let's be honest, Warren Buffett's a weirdo. He's brilliant. Yes, I said it. You all think it. Don't deny it. He's a little socially awkward. Rich as hell, but socially awkward.
That was his best friend, Bill Gates, right? You should.
Or
Where you
what's
going?
his other
Where you
best friend?
going?
What's his name?
Look,
Charles.
look, hey, look.
I'm
So,
sitting.
so essentially, we should all aim to be awkward at some point if we want to be, filthy rich and wealthy.
I
That's
already am. It works for me. Yeah, I'm awkward enough. That's why I make so many sex jokes when it's inappropriate. Little side note, if you make one to your boss, it's not sexual harassment. Never mind, it's just grounds for firing. Not the point. This is why I don't have a corporate job and why we don't have an HR department. So now you're saying, so how much of your portfolio do you think people should be putting into, is there one specific sector you would think people should be looking at this coming week that they may not have thought of before?
We always talk about sector rotation, right? We always talk about money moving from one sector to the other. And when we were looking at the heat map on Wednesday, we were seeing strength going into the industrials and a lot of weakness into tech. So, if you're looking at even, an account that you don't, actively look at, maybe like a 401k or an IRA where you have those long-term investments, if you've been writing tech heavily, these last 4, 5, 6 months, maybe it could be time for you to kind of reshuffle and maybe add, to some other sectors. You don't want to be heavily into one sector. We talk about position sizing all the time and also asset allocation. You don't want to be, have all your eggs in one basket, right? You want to be able to make sure that you're well diversified, and seeing those sector moves is something to pay attention to. So I would say always have a well diversified portfolio, but more than that, it's keeping an eye on the overall market to see where those levels are, because once we start to break those major levels, it doesn't matter which sector you're in, everything's going to go down, pretty much together, right? Everything just kind of gets dragged down, some more than others. But I think the most important thing is to take a look at the overall market and have a plan as to what you're going to do. Now, the market is still overall bullish. I mean, this is what we've been looking to see, is that little bit of a slowdown so that it can catch up to those moving averages and just, slow down a little bit. It's been going up for such a long time. So this is what we want to see, but now we want to see the bulls able to find that support level, hold that support level, and give us an upward movement in price. Otherwise, if the bears come in and bring it down, we're just going to see a little bit more volatility last for a little bit longer. But I think the market is still going to continue to go up to some degree. So it's just a matter of just keeping an eye on everything and just, having a plan, know what you're going to do. If the S&P breaks this number, what am I going to do with my account? What am I willing to risk in terms of your overall portfolio? We talked about, position sizing on Wednesday, right? What's your risk tolerance and that kind of stuff. So you have to be able to have that business plan in place so that you don't overreact when the markets give you this kind of volatility. Because I think a lot of us just get emotional and we end up, getting out of investments too quickly because we just kind of panicked. Where if you had a plan in place that say, okay, out of all my positions and out of all my assets that I have, if XYZ breaks this support level, if it loses, 4% or whatever your number is, this is where I get out and sit on the sidelines and sit in cash and then wait to enter back in if it gives me confirmation to the upside. That way you don't give up all your profits that you've made over the last, 4 or 5 months. You're talking to yourself.
Sorry. I like talking to myself too. I'm the only one that listens. So the dogs are adorable right now. They were just barking. It's like, stop it. So let's take that into a macro view, because I agree with everything you're saying, but not just in the stock market side, but also just globally, what's what we're looking for, right? You want to make sure you're diversified. That doesn't just mean you're in different sectors in the stock market. It means you're in everything, so that when something's going down, something else is going up. Remember, investing goes in waves, right? It has ups and has downs. It has ups and has downs. But every wave hits at a different time. Look at the ocean. It's not one giant wave running across the Atlantic and then boom, it hits. No, it breaks up based on currents and underlying factors like the seabed. Oh my God, I just pulled that analogy off. Just saying. And seabed, seafloor, not the point. Moving on. So I'm looking forward to having this conversation with you, Emily, and with Perla in a second to talk about what this actually means. But people are going to need to understand a little bit about why Perla's here and what we're doing with Miss Guinness here. So first things first, I also want to make sure we're talking after Perla gives us her little, after I ask her a couple questions, we are going to be talking about what we think is going to happen with the election coming on, because we all know this is going to be a doozy. It was a doozy last time, and it's only getting worse. So how do we prepare ourselves? Regardless of which side of the aisle you're on, someone's going to get hurt. Like, someone's either going to be livid or someone's going to be elated. There's no, it's just everyone's going to be hurt. So I want us to all come together and make sure that we're all unified, that we don't, it doesn't matter. We can be friends and disagree. Doesn't matter, but we can all work to this together, and as long as we're here to support one another. So we're going to try that route. So on that side of it, before we have that conversation, I would like to introduce Miss Perla Guinness, like the beer, but spelled nothing like it. Hi, Perla, how are you?
How are you? Can you hear me well?
Not well, but I know you're there.
Oh, you, okay. Stephanie, help me here. If the voice isn't right, I'll remove the headphone. Hello, is it better?
There you are. Hi.
Okay. You see, last time I did have a little bit of an issue with the headset. Welcome
all right.
to all of you for appreciate and thank you for having me and giving me such a warm welcome.
I'm so glad.
Last time and
yeah, so for those of you who were not a part of our Real Estate Survivor Challenge, which everyone on this call is or will be, hey Josh. So we're gonna get that going for the next session. Perla is a very special guest. I happen to be very close friends with her daughter, whose name is Tiffany. And Tiffany is blonde, about 6'4". She's a supermodel in Belize, and
yes.
I don't know.
Supermodel, not in Belize though.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Where did she move to? I forget. I don't remember.
New York City, you know?
Oh, God, right.
And she dyed her hair, you know, that too.
Dyed her hair, and she got much.
And you might see her around. Very long.
So one of the
Nothing
things
historical.
She is funny, I will say that. So one of the things I love about our community is we bring in other people who edify and bring us a different perspective constantly. And Stephanie over here is Tiffany's sister. So we
love you. You really made my day now. I don't know about hers, but mine.
So, oh my Lord, I love you, Stephanie, so much. So Stephanie tells me weeks ago that her mom is does stuff with seeds, because I was talking about the 5 Gs, right, Emily? Our 5 Gs. Now, Stephanie, pop quiz. What are the 5 Gs?
Gold.
Gold is one, yes.
Gas.
Yes, actually.
Guns.
Guns, very good. See how I did that?
I don't know. Like, I know seeds are somehow in that. Just not understand how we.
There you go. Ground. Yeah, ground.
Ground. I was like, is it ground?
Yeah. Yep. Okay. And the 5th one?
The 5th one is
very close to ground, actually, with this example.
Oh, grain.
Close, Shaw. Grub.
Oh, just food in general.
Food. Mm-hmm. Yes. So real estate is ground. We love that as an asset class. We understand that gold and silver for our protection with hedging our purchasing power. We have guns for, protection. I have mixed feelings about that, but they're becoming slightly clearer as we get closer to this election. Then we have, what was it? Gold, ground.
Seeds, however.
Grub, which we were talking about, food storage and seeds and things like that. And the 5th one, I don't remember which one I didn't say.
Gas. Yes, petroleum.
Gas. Well,
yes.
Let's just be clear. If we all have to run out of here somehow and get in a boat or on a plane, we got to get into a car that has gas. So it's very important for all of us. It needs some sort of transportation. That doesn't mean it doesn't necessarily have to be diesel or gasoline, but it's about being, it is about investing in commodities, gas, as well as eco-friendly.
I was gonna say that is like what's it called? Like eco-friendly, like energy sources also count as the gas component, like solar, wind, powers, and stuff like that.
Energy.
Yep. just like grub also means having food storage and seeds. And also in that subcategory is land for growing that. So a lot of them cross between the two bits. And don't get me wrong, I hate the word grub. It sounds like a bug to me because it is. But the point is, it's a G and it makes it something to remember. So to talk more about our...
I was gonna say, you think of grub as bugs because of, you know, Timon and Pumbaa and the lion.
Exactly.
I knew that's what you're thinking. Hello. Millennial.
Anybody who is here, who is a kid in the 90s, they all know the opening of right? Everyone's ready to go for it, right? So I'll let that go. That was not at all Swahili. I'm so sorry. Hi, cutie. So now...
You muted yourself.
Yes, I didn't want the dogs to bark. So now to talk about this, so Perla, you have been working in the seed commodity industry for quite a while, haven't you?
Correct. I'm in agriculture and the commercial side for a large Fortune 500 company. It was interesting to hear your take on the market. We look at, for us, for example, the hedge funds getting in or out, it really screws our view in terms of when we want to go in or come out based on demand. So basically it alters the demand, and that certainly would be sure a true fact as well whenever you talk about any other commodity, because you have a sector of the market that steps in to invest that doesn't necessarily follow the supply and demand. So obviously it can affect the market up or down. But yes, I've been both in trading at the moment, large agriculture commodities, both for food and for feed for animals. Not a big bulk, so it's not retail that I'm in, and also into shipping and supply chain. So we've been looking. I've been very interested in efficiencies and sustainability on my own. I do not have a green thumb when you talk about seeds. So let me clarify that and get it out of the way. I'm trying, but these poor plants are suffering with me.
So that's fascinating. I hadn't even thought about some of that. So, okay, so quick recap of what you just said, teenagers. What the parts that I want to make sure we touch on is the actions that you look in the stock market, how they literally influence your actions with your company, how you guys determine when to exit and enter and what to do. That's actually really interesting. And I think Emily wants to be part of that conversation, so let her get back. And the other thing I really found fascinating was how you talked about it being commercial. I didn't realize there was a commercial side. I mean, I did, but I didn't. You know, when you say it, it's like, oh yeah, duh. There's a commercial side to seeds and making seeds, harvesting seeds, storing seeds.
Yes.
So how did you get into this? Like I mean, you're not that boring looking for me to think, hey, she wanted to go one day, she went and found a bag of, you know, Uncle Tasha's sunflower seeds. I want to do this. And then started like planting stuff. How did this happen? Like, were you a farm woman, farm hand, Handmaid's Tale?
Okay. Well, let me burst your bubble, Jacob. I'm so sorry. None of that, but still in the making. Like you say, cadet in training. I'm still there. No, we've looked into. Honestly, we started as a family. I mean, my husband and I reviewing a lot of things in terms of being sovereign, food, energy, sustainable. So a lot into permaculture. We're looking into. We are interested once we go into next step in our lives, like freeing up a little bit of our cash and time to our current situation to go into farming, like a homesteading and prepper. And that's how we started all this learning, because it took us over 5 years, a little bit over 5 years since we started. So it's more like an interest saying, okay, how do we prepare? If the worst happens, how do you prepare? Financially, how you diversify your portfolio, but at the same time, what is your likelihood of survival in terms of supply chain? How do you get your food, your energy needs covered? And the best way of doing that is people who have gone all out into homesteading and prepping and completely being off grid and trying it out. It's very hard. So it's something that I'm following quite a few, but it starts with having availability of how you're going to acquire seeds for your own use, and energy in terms of what do we need. Water, so it's water, energy, and food. And food is, you need to start with seeds, and obviously you have to have land. So you have to have land, energy. That's my husband's side. He's working on one of those crazy zero energy or free energy projects. They're very masked in the industry, but he's testing it. So as soon as we have a prototype, we'll let you know.
Well, let me know. I love that. Fridays are supposed to be like eco-friendly investment day, theoretically. Doesn't always happen,
well,
but that would be really cool to learn more about.
Yeah, it's under the mirror, so it has to be in code.
Got it.
You follow what I'm saying?
So, yep,
okay.
Gotcha. So tell me more.
Because you're against the whole industry.
So have you ever had a farm, or will this be like the first farm you've ever had when you go off the grid and retire?
No. We've had some attempts in Argentina. We had a vineyard, and obviously it was really hard for us being in the U.S. and managing far away. But there's a lot of learnings from that, and that's how when this last 7 years we said, okay, we certainly need to cut down on cost, because energy is one of your biggest. So you have gas oil or diesel oil to run everything, to have the farm ready is very very heavy in costs. Seeds, unless you have a program with one of the big companies that supply you seeds, is very convenient, but then you're at their mercy, and those are hybrid seeds. So if you want to have your own food and have your own seeds, you are not independent. Okay. And the other one is you need to have access to water. And wherever we've been, you always have to have lands we've looked at, and we had in Argentina, and here we're looking at, to have the ability to have a water well. Because you don't want to have city water. First of all, the bills would be outrageous, and it would be impossible for farming. So to make it sustainable, you need to find economically and in terms of availability of products that you can, over time, develop the plan to be on your own. And obviously, that one of the alternatives could be of becoming a seed grower for other people as this boom. And actually, with this pandemic, a lot of people have gone more into off-grid and having their own food supply. So the trend is there, and I think it will be there to stay as people become more conscious about sustainability, sovereignty, food biodiversity. There's a lot of movements with native communities in recovering old native seeds throughout the world. I'm in contact with a group in northern Argentina, Chile, and here in the US, I haven't located one on native seeds, but there are several community seed banks that you can access.
That sounds kind of dirty. So something I actually was trying, sorry, inside voice.
I don't know if I answered all your questions.
Well, so you're only going to create more, so don't worry about it. I'll just keep asking you. So one thing I learned on our last call, which I thought was really interesting, was the fact that there is a global seed bank for the world in Svalbard, Norway.
You looked it up.
Yeah, I was excited about having you come on. Svalbard, it's one of those, it's Norway. It's got a lot of consonants, not enough vowels, and it sounds like you're coughing something up every time you sneeze and say hello. But that's the world's largest food bank, and it's been going on for decades. And apparently, I learned this too. The Cherokee Nation was the first Native American, was the first population that could actually deposit seeds into the Norway food bank.
The World Bank.
World
That's the
Bank.
World
The World
Bank. That's fine. The World
Yeah,
Bank.
that was me sounding articulated and educated. Articulate.
Perfect. Because you know something. You got something I didn't know.
Oh my God! Look at that. Thank you. My cookies didn't ruin everything. So tell us more. That's just for Stephanie. So now we all know what preppers are. People who don't know what preppers are, let me explain. People who are completely self-sufficient, independent on what goes on around them and what could happen in the future. Those people who take that type of accountability, they are called preppers. So there are various forms. People take it in several different ways. Doesn't matter. It's all about that person's preferences and what they feel is important to them in their life. So people prepare by storing fabric, by storing up ammunition. In the case of COVID, it was toilet paper and paper towels. So those are preppers, right?
Right, the extreme couponers with their like 50 cases of like ketchup bottles.
Oh my God. Those
Absolutely.
drive me crazy.
That they got for free,
Then
right?
why are they selling them on Amazon? Because frankly, it's just ketchup. You know what I mean? It ain't that cute. Whatever. I get off my high fructose corn syrup. Oh my God, I'm so hungry. Anyway, so you started 5 years ago, you said, Perla?
5 years ago.
And what
yes.
did you do to start? Like, how did you guys, because apparently you've been researching, you've had some experience in Argentina. How did you guys get started?
We started certainly not with this trend. We started the traditional way and it did not work out. It was super hard. It was a red in our book, especially being in the distance. So we cut our losses and that's when we started investigating and said, what are we going to do different next time so we are ready? And that's what we've been doing the last 5 years because the vineyard, it was 7 years ago. So we had it for 2 years. We had production, but between some labor claims, because Argentina has a very specific social labor rules that are really hard, and people were abusing some of those rules being foreigners. So we've kind of, since then, we said, okay, let's reel back. What did we learn from what we did that didn't work on the normal, traditional farming?
Okay.
And that's what we said. We are super clear. You need to have your land. You need to have, and that's what happened here in the States, by the way, and I'll tell you that. The land, the water, the seeds, and the energy. And the biggest cost, depending on where you are, is it could be land. So if you have land on credit, it's going to kill any farmer anywhere in the world. Seeds, it's manageable, but you have to be able to, you have other elements with seeds. You have herbicides, fungicides, and water bills. So you have other elements that need to also consider maybe a higher cost in your seed, and then rather than having a program with hybrid seeds. And then the energy part with diesel, oil, and gas oil, when it was at the peak of the barrel of the oil pricing, it was between the thefts and the cost, or the cost to generate a crop it was more than you were getting from making the production of your own wine. So, and here in the States, this is one of the issues. You see farmers taking on their own, getting loans to get seeds, and there is a program for seeds for farmers, not for seed growers, but for farmers. The USDA has specific farm credit for anyone that is registered as a farmer to have access to credit, but credit eventually needs to be paid. So if you are very heavy in credit, in debt, and agriculture depends on weather, you can be a good farmer, have all the elements, but you depend on the elements. So your yield and your production are always an issue. So like any other business, if you are high in debt, your risk is higher depending on how the weather works with you in terms of yield. Okay, so currently we don't have any, I've tried at home, we're testing a few things. We want to go into greenhouse for specific fruit trees, but with the same mentality. We are producing the small trees, having our own water, trying to find this generator to work off grid electricity wise so you can run other things, and well water.
Or like an aquifer of some sort.
Yes, so Florida works, for example, people, and we looked into Arizona or Texas, some areas are very restrictive in the amount of water you can pull from the aquifer, and they're not even giving drilling permits. So you need to know where you're going.
Interesting.
Okay.
I heard the drilling permits for oil. I hadn't considered it for the aquifers. It makes sense.
Yes.
Right.
Wherever there is restriction in the amount of water available in drought areas, this is a requirement. And a lot of farms that are grandfathered in have gotten reductions in the amount of water that they can actually pull from the aquifers.
You know, it's interesting that you say that, because there's as you're saying this, I'm thinking about something that I just read about being socially responsible with everything we do. That's actually what part of the eco movement is about for prepping eco-friendly. And they talk about how knowing that it actually costs this much to make a hamburger, or it actually costs this much to make that loaf of bread. Like, it's not about, oh, it's only $2 or whatever. No, it's like, you've got the transportation for it, you've got the raising of the animal that you slaughtered, you've got the feed that goes behind it, you've got the salaries for the workers, you've got the energy that goes behind it, everything you just said. And it's much more. If we were actually being socially responsible, McDonald's dollar menu would not exist. Actually, does it still exist? I don't know. Because it's not, is it $1 or is it more than $1?
I don't know that.
Well, not the point. It costs a lot more money to do that. So we'll see what happens. Another thing, and this would be interesting to actually have a conversation about, maybe not today, but later, they're talking about the food of the future being things like bugs.
Well, bugs are today, it's not something new, bugs, Jacob. Mexico is well known for the protein. Yeah, I see you.
I don't know why I mentioned it. I hate them so much. I like things that have 4 legs and less. That's it. Like, and then when they have none, they have to have at least 1.
What actually scares me in terms of food production is what they're pushing now, and it's very much related with COVID, which is the shutdown of the meat plants. And they're pushing an agenda on, personally, this is my belief from what I'm in the market and see, for protein-based meat. Can you imagine? Your meat is not from a cow?
Yeah, I was watching a documentary on that. It's created in the lab. They're using
they use plants. They use plants, but still there's a lot of mycotoxins in there, and that's very detrimental to your health.
But the thing that's also interesting is that technology is allowing for exploration of things like that. Now, don't get me wrong. I love Beyond Burger. I love Impossible Burgers because they're plant-based. They are not a health food.
Okay.
No, they are not. They have more sodium in them than a regular burger, but no one died for that Whopper. So think about it. That's just me. But it's just interesting to see how technology is changing that way. So tell us, what do you look for when you try to invest in seeds? Like, what makes a good seed?
Okay. So for seeds, as we said, we have two parts. You can either be in the market to obtain seeds for your own production, for your own self-sufficient or farming or homesteading, or because you want to position yourself to try to invest in seeds. Seeds are living organisms. So the key element is you need to be able to, whatever you buy and whomever you buy from, you need to be able to keep it in an environment that will maintain them with vitality. 5 years is, I would say, it's a stretch, but it is where you have to go. Like, it has to be in a dark place, has to be a cool, dry, and cool as possible. Dark and dry will make sure that those seeds maintain their vitality.
So like your father's heart, something like that. Cool, dark, and dry.
Dark.
Bad jokes.
Bad joke, yes. Sorry, I'm a little slow.
That's okay, says Bo. Go on.
All right. So there are, as I mentioned, that there are a lot of community groups. So the best way of getting into for seed trading, there is there are several seed exchanges, and there's a lot of them for free, but you need to be a farmer or a gardener. So you exchange your seeds for other people's seeds and you list them. There's one place I did find since we last discussed that is called Dave's Garden, and they seem to be one of the biggest pools for trading, like forum for trading. So from this call, I'll send you the link. Whomever is interested can check in that. They do have a tutorial, how to get in, what to look. But basically, you need to trust you need to research who you buy from, because it has to be a good supplier of seed producer. We do know, because of shortage of seeds, due to the situation at the moment, there are many out of stock. So whatever is going to come out from the big seed producers and nurseries is going to be kind of fresh, because it's going to be the new crop. So if they are kept in a proper environment, they will retain their vitality for a good time. The other thing is, finding the value for seeds is very subjective at the moment, because it's what you value them and what other people value. And there's a lot of exchange going on this garden community forums. And I haven't gone in for investing. What we've done is to try seeds ourselves to see how they maintain for us to grow them. But that's what I have found, that those are some alternatives. Okay. And what you want is, for what people will look for investing would be seeds that can be, for trading would be GMO, non-GMO, heirloom seeds, so that they can be used to produce more seeds and have more seeds for your own or to continue trading.
So I actually was researching that, trying to figure out, so non-GMO and heirloom seeds. Would you explain what that means?
Okay. GMOs are, as you know, plants or seeds that have been genetically modified to have certain traits, whether to give better yields, to be more drought resistant, to be more resistant to certain bugs. So when you have a non-GMO, it will be a seed as original as possible. Okay. And the heirloom seeds it's just seeds that you can grow to a plant and have that plant produce more flowers for seeds. What you see in the commercial market today in seeds is hybrids. So the hybrids are those GMO that you can grow them. You have a nice plant, tomato, whatever it is, but once it dies, the flowers do not give you seeds to continue the process of seeding and reseeding. Okay.
Okay.
Clear?
So they're just once and done.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
those
are the heirlooms. That's why they're so much looked after and sought for by preppers or anyone who really wants to be sustainable, because over time you just want to be free from that commercial trading contract where you buy year after year your own seeds. Okay.
So you want to be able to produce your own seeds, so you're no longer dependent on a seed supplier.
Exactly. And now, obviously, if you want to trade in seeds, you would have to find either a farmer who wants to change from the from this commercial hybrid contract to a more sustainable one, and see if you can maybe fund their seed cost for the year, because this is kind of where the farmers go to the USDA credit farm arm, and they may get credit for that. They may get a loan for that. Maybe you can come in and do that, either get the loan or buy the seeds and sell. That's something I did not explore that, but I thought it might be interesting, because it does exist loans for farmers to do that. So it's like you go a joint venture with a farmer, for example, if you're willing to take that kind of risk. So you're investing rather than for trading, it will be to go partnering with the farmer. That might be an option. And you're not just limited to, depending obviously what kind of crops we're having, whether it's corn or cotton or seed or beans or meal. It's an alternative that you might consider. Yes, Stephanie.
I like that idea, the idea of like having, because you don't have to do everything. We talk about partnering a lot here on this channel. So like if you're able to lend money to a farmer, they can use that money to buy seeds, and in turn you get a percentage of the crop or the profits or the seed, whatever it might be in the future. That's actually you're right, that's very interesting. Stephanie, you had a question?
Yeah. What about when you have to like um, changing crops? What's it
Yeah.
called? What about that type of mentality where like, because sometimes you can take out the nutrients from the ground.
Crop
And
rotating,
what's the word?
rotating.
Like
You
the
mean talking about rotating your
Rotating.
crops
crop
and like
rotation?
areas that you're planting your seeds.
Um, it's true, and to be honest with you, there's part of this farming movement, more conscious and more like on the permaculture sustainable side, is because if you go, there are certain crops that if you rotate in a certain manner and you do not use the GMO and hybrid seeds, the plant itself does with the rotation reestablishes the minerals in the soil, so you do not have, so basically you have an in-between crop that still gives you cash and does not deplete the soil. But those are very technical in the agriculture side. They will tell you for this type of soil what kind of rotation you can do to replenish. There's a very interesting farm, if you want to look into, a gentleman by the name of Salatin. He has cows, pigs, and chicken in Pennsylvania, something like 100 acres. And he's been rotating the cattle in a certain order so that he triggers the germination of native grass and has more for pasture. And he's not buying seeds. He's not buying from the commercial seeds. If you're interested in that, they have a wonderful production. They have an open farm, teaching farm. And a lot of people have been looking into that because you're becoming friendly with the environment and reusing what you have and it's a big thing on the rotation that Stephanie's mentioning.
Is that also playing into the reduction of carbon emissions that cows tend to do?
Totally. Because the way he has it, this particular farm, yeah, it's perfect. The cows go first on the fresh pasture at a certain height. Then he puts in the pigs that go to the medium-sized grass, and then the chicken, and he goes rotating everyone. We're very different from what we have seen on a normal farm. I'll share that because it might open up ideas of things you might want to explore if you know someone who's a farmer, and you might be willing to help them finance their needs, and you become a partner with them, for example, or explore different techniques.
It's actually so interesting. So there's a really great document, if you guys have not seen it, it's really cute. I saw it on a Delta flight once, but like last year. It's called The Biggest Little Farm, and it is fantastic. Something that's really interesting about what some of these agro movements are when you're going away from commercial farming into like a learning farm like you were just talking about, Carla, is how when everything's in balance, it all takes care of itself. And it takes about 7 years, according to this documentary, just from starting to having a completely self-sustaining farm where the earth actually helps you. For example, it's really fascinating documentary. They took this old orchard, this old apple orchard that had nothing. It was dead. It was and they completely redid it. It took a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of help. But the couple that bought it, they actually bought it for their dog who had PTSD.
Okay.
It was so cute.
Nice.
So the dog was like getting stressed out every time they would leave the house, and they were getting complaints from the neighbors about the dog barking so much. And so they had to move, and he needed space and land and run. So they came up with this idea and they did it. How cool. So they started, it took a couple of years. They had a mentor, which is very important, who taught them how to plant which crop first. They had the most yield, and they had the most cash flow to help reinvest the farm, and then what to do with the soil, how to turn it over and how to turn the crops over. one of my favorite documentaries ever. It's so cute. It's really lighthearted, which is really fun. But what was interesting was what they were talking about with topsoil, because topsoil is a resource. So it has the most nutrients for your plants. It's what actually helps you grow stronger crops, so on and so forth. And when they had this horrible flash flood that came around, all their neighbors of commercial farmers lost all their topsoil. Meanwhile, what happened to theirs?
It was growing.
It kept growing because it was all in balance with what that earth was providing. And it was really interesting to see that they were talking about the quality of seeds that they use, the quality of water. It was very, very interesting. It went down to when they bought their first pig. It was very funny. Her name was Dolly.
Okay, what's the name again of that
The
documentary?
Biggest Little Farm. Super cute. Everyone, I think it's so fun. It's just a very lighthearted, well-made documentary. And it's this cute little couple. It followed them for 7 years and they learned a ton. It was really cool.
There is a series on, I believe it's History Channel, that they're following farmers across the US and things that they've implemented to improve their bottom line cash. And some are very interesting, how they are working harder, getting even the kids to help in certain times of the year because of whether they have drought or they need to plant other areas, redesign. A lot of things get done very creatively today throughout the farming community in just an effort to succeed. So,
Yeah.
And it's a very interesting one. For example, a woman here in one of them was having cotton, and the other one was they didn't make enough money to survive because they had taken extra mortgages. And she devised a section of the property, about half an acre, I think it was. She made it into a maze for pumpkins and weekend strolls on kids close to the city. So basically you could live the farm life over the weekend. And she did a little like a maze with grass, with corn. I thought it was amazing. I mean, and she made it into concentric circles on purpose, as a way, obviously, with some cameras and refreshings and things. I don't know. I'm following up to see how well they did, but they invested a little bit of time.
I've seen enough horror movies with a clown chasing you through different mazes. Get it? See what I did there? That's just like, I don't know if I could go into it again. No, not when I can't see above it. No. I know how that movie ends, and it ends with disembowelment, and I don't want it.
Okay, we won't take you there, Jim.
No, but it's true though. You were saying like the creative ways that they go about making money outside of what they were intended, like
with what they have. They reshuffle what they have, and sometimes they don't make ends meet, and they end up being foreclosed on. But it's very interesting, and the effort, and I mean, it's so personal. Anyone you talk to that has a farm, that is a medium to small size farm, is like, that's a baby for them. And what you mentioned about the biggest little farm, I think the concept, it's permaculture. Permaculture is where you are fully self-sufficient, and you do not disturb the environment. On the contrary, you support the environment. Okay.
That's wonderful.
The ambition is our objective is very ambitious. As Stephanie knows, we want to go green, geothermal. So obviously it's not something we're going to do in a year. It probably may take, if it's 7, maybe 10, she will have to continue maybe, but we'll see how we get there. No? Okay.
Don't worry. She'll outsource it.
She'll outsource it. Yes, she will.
Yeah, we'll make sure of it. I mean, I think that's fantastic. It's something I would love to actually myself do, but neither here nor there. Can you imagine me getting dirty? I do. I've got a blister.
I do too.
Oh, it looks not bad right now. But anyway, so you were talking about, I don't know if Emily's back here or not, but this is me kind of giving her subtle intent. I'm going to be bringing her into the conversation if she's back. But you were talking about how your company reacts to hedge funds coming in and out of the market, changing their position, and that changes your strategies. What do you guys? Can you talk a little more about that and why that's important?
Okay. that is being looked at daily.
Okay.
Daily. And it has to, it connects, for us, it connects with how we are selling. We have a base of customers that we manage their inventory at destination, and we need to make sure that they not run out of product and that they have a product that their end value is within a range. That's kind of the commitment we make with them. So we're looking at the market all the time. And the daily discussion on, or review through the funds, the daily funds, what goes in, what goes out. We try to understand what is the next moves the funds are doing, because that affects the availability. It raises up or down the mark. So when you go in is when you try to see that the funds do something else. But sometimes you can't, and you have to stay, and you have to go in because you're close to execution, or you see the market dropped and you have to take advantage. Or if it goes up and you have a cap, you have to put other structures to put stop losses and manage your pricing. So we review the market daily, we review the customers' inventory needs, pricing, obligations, and we also use a lot of this stop loss and caps structuring for the pricing as pricing mechanisms.
Okay.
There's Emily.
Hi, I'm multitasking, so I'm going back and forth, and I have kids running around in the house, so I'm mostly muted because it's ridiculous in here. But yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying, because we do the same thing in the market, right? We always talk about ROI, your return on investment, but there's also return on capital. If you've made profits, you want to lock in that profit so that you can recycle that money and put into something else that will continue to grow. So it's always about looking at and looking at your overall portfolio and saying, okay, where do I need to lock in this profit so I can redeploy that same capital to something else? And sometimes, like you said, you may not be able to, and you just have to hold on to it for a little bit longer, but you always have to look and see where your money can grow in different areas of the market, whether it's, the actual stock market or real estate or other things. You always have to have your money circulating. So I completely agree with what you said, Carla.
So what type of...
The difficulty, I'm sorry, Jacob, I just want to say this. The difficulty we have is because we have, where I work, we have an obligation to end customers who have cattle or mills or factories to continue having available inventory. Sometimes we cannot afford to get out because we just have to make the best and follow into the execution part. Okay, so what we do is, at the end of the day, is to ship the product. Although we do take some positions, like for speculation, there's very little, because we only can enter the market to price. So for pricing mechanisms, to manage as a hedge funds as hedging the price for the customers, but at the end of the day is to execute the positions that we sell. Okay.
Well, it's funny because even as we look at market cycles and stuff like that, when I'm watching the real estate market trends, what we're finding, which is really interesting, the past few years, high net worth individuals have been buying a lot of agricultural land. They're becoming a lot more agricultural financing products for 10 or more acres for different programs to incentivize people to get farming equipment that have been coming up. It's also been interesting to see with COVID, the markets that have been going up and have the most interest in people moving into those areas from the major cities. They're not places you would think. They're places like Boise, Idaho, or Charleston, South Carolina, or Birmingham, Alabama. They're just not, they're good places to have land for even becoming self-sustaining. So you can see how all this kind of cycles together and how it all works. You just have to make sure that your own bias is checked so you know what you're doing. But you have to make sure you're building your future the way you want it, investing the way that you feel comfortable, and going on from there. Stephanie, do you have any questions?
I don't know, because again, this is an ongoing thing with me and my mom all the time, where she'll start talking about her job, and I'm like, yeah, you're speaking Chinese.
I'll talk to Emily next time, I think.
It's so interesting, but it becomes more interesting the more you start doing it. You start looking at investing, and you do it consistently, and it's all the same thing, just different asset.
Yeah, it's just a different language, really. It's the same thing. It's money. We're talking money. That's all we keep. Everything that we do is just the talk is money. It's just a different language when it comes to seeds, or when it comes to real estate, or when it comes to the stock market. But the name of the game is money.
Mm-hmm.
And something that I just remembered, it's like, so my mom and I were having this discussion because like one thing that we were talking about with the seeds is that, again, you can use that, like, again, what you value your seeds to be and versus someone else's value of your seeds, right? Like real estate, right? A buyer could say, well, no, I think your house is only worth 100,000 and not 250 that the seller is insisting on, right? It's about perspectives. And I was saying, like, you know, from our way that we're looking at our conversations, could we even argue that like seeds is a form of, currency, right? Or seeds or our crops is a form of currency. And, my mom's like, no, that's bartering. That's us bartering. I'm like, but it's the same. Like, it's like you're bartering with dollars for a water bottle. It's the same concept. You're just using a different metric to be the currency for it, right? So it's still a currency. So that's what was a fun little banter my mother and I were going back and forth on regarding. That's why I called this conversation barter/banter, because, or bantering barter, or to barter or not to barter, because that's basically what my mom used this situation as. So I think that was kind of fun and quirky about it, because again, it's about how we value it, and if we want to make it, like, I could say, well, your 5, heirloom seeds are worth 3 cattles of mine if you want them for your pasture or whatever. Like, that's just the agreement that we come to terms on. Or it's worth $500,000 or whatever we decide.
It's that trading power. Mm-hmm.
Yes, I think it's a part of trade. It's turning into, especially if we are in this trend with more eco-friendly practices and more like turning into ourselves into these agricultural mindsets in terms of like how can we homestead in the ways that we need to homestead in situations. It will become a, like, what I value my it becomes trading power, just like your precious metal becomes a trading power, just become any of the commodities that we discussed of the 5Gs as trading power.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Something else related to seeds, just to throw it out there for you, Jacob, to get your head around. There's also investment in timber.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a long-term investment, very long-term investment, because you might have to look at least 10 years, 5 to 10 years. But that's something very passive.
Mm-hmm.
That if you have land that it's not producing anything, might be a way of looking into doing something. There are certain areas, northern Florida, for example, is very known, and Georgia and South Carolina also for timber, very specific. You need to have a surveyor do that, but I'll mention it because it's within that agriculture, seeds, trading commodity, maybe someone might be interested in looking into. I do not know enough. I do know that that's also a viable business for people who want to have a less intensive participation, and it's more long-term.
They actually have group funding for crowdfunding for things like that. I was just researching that in preparation for our call. There's also something that's interesting as well. Bamboo is becoming more and more popular as a construction material.
Construction, for many things, not just construction. Yeah. They're using it also for paper, for clothing, and construction as well. Yeah.
For chopsticks, for bamboo shoots, they can create a stir fry. Just throw it all in their little soy sauce. Chop, chop, yum, yum.
It grows so fast, Jacob. It grows so fast that it outweighs any of the other woods. The only thing is not as strong. So it depends what the uses that it will go into. But yeah.
And different treatments can increase its intensity and its strength and fortitude, which is really cool. So there's a I've talked about this show before. It's called it's on Apple TV. It's called Home. And the third episode is about this woman who made these amazing their architectural brilliance. These homes made completely out of bamboo. So she says you can grow an entire house, and these are like massive structures in Bali. And they are, she can grow them in 5 years. And it's just amazing to see what she can do. And they're so interesting because you have to work with the fibers of the bamboo. So all that stuff is very interesting. This got to be a little different than I was expecting it to be, but we'll talk about that some other time. So now you got me on wood.
No problem.
Wood's always crazy. Anyway, so.
Can I have a question for the group, but not to be answered today? If anyone is into crypto, I would like to, I would appreciate any insights.
Well, that's convenient because we're actually having a crypto conversation coming shortly with my friend Eric Spire. He's supposed to be coming on here the next few weeks. I'm actually got to call him back. So yes, we do know, long story short, what we have discovered here is that blockchain technology is going, and already has changed the way the world is conducting business. Which specific wallet is going to happen? Don't know. However, watch for, I'm sure you've heard of these, special drawing rights and universal income, but whatever they base it on will probably be backed in a blockchain technology. But we'll talk more about that coming up because we do like that conversation. It's a really good question. Wow, good job, Perla. Way to go. So it is now 4:07, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, Perla, you're amazing. Thank you for coming on. Everybody learned something about seeds. Anybody have any questions for Perla? Anybody? Anything?
I could ask her on the regular, right? She's so.
Anytime. You can
Jared,
just send me an email if there's anything and we'll discuss further.
So we are, so I'm so glad you guys are enjoying this. I'm so glad you're here. This has been so interesting. I always love learning about different aspects of investing, just like you guys do as well. So quick things to announce. We are currently working on our season 2 for Real Estate Survivor. That will be starting in November. It is an invitation only, so if you are interested in participating with us, please send me a message and I will send you an application and I will let you know if you are applied. Well, you'll be reviewed and I'll know the decision and I'll let you know what it is. The next part about this is we have our call on Monday is being hosted. We're hosting the call Monday with Hubo?
Joy.
Joy, oh, good. So we're talking about nonprofit investing. Let me rephrase that. We're talking about nonprofit work on Monday and how nonprofits work with investors. Joy is an investor who has had a nonprofit for 26 years, and they were, the Aid for Kids has actually been, they're now national and international. They go around the world helping kids and families make better lives, a better future. So that's part of our goal of becoming investors that are socially conscious and giving back. Then we are going to have other people on through next week. Look for an email if you want to get on our mailing list. Please send me a message. Go ahead and join investorparty.com. All the links and everything's on that, as well as all the videos we've been hosting 3 times a week since COVID started. So we have all sorts. We have a great library there under #partychatter. Go on, take a look at that. We also have mastermind mixers, all sorts of things. So go take a look there. We are also, we're doing so many things. I don't even know where I am right now. Stephanie, what am I forgetting? Anything interesting?
No, I think that's about it. We are going to start majorly promoting our first big fundraiser in Colorado Springs to help, bring in more resources and fundraising capital for our newly improved house in Colorado Springs, right? That takes place the 28th of September. So next Saturday, we're going to be blasting that out. So if you guys can either help by donating, if you can't make it to Colorado Springs, or have friends and yourself who can get there, we'd love your support. Everything benefits the Sherlock Holmes Foundation.
If you'd like to make a donation to the Sherlock Holmes Foundation, you can do that at any time. Just look in the link below. It is paypal.com/fundingsherlock.
PayPal.me/fundingsherlock.
PayPal.me/fundingsherlock. So take a look there. Thank you. I wouldn't be able to do this without my team. They're amazing. Last thing I wanted to mention. Flip my mind. So in that case, guys, until later, party on. I will talk to you soon. Take care. Mwah. Join us, follow us on social media, investorparty.com. Peace.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.